So, hey, brothers and sisters from the StarkNet family. This is Nurstar speaking, and welcome to the first episode of Shill Me Your Fundamentals, a show about the promotional and marketing landscape in the StarkNet ecosystem. Last week, we had a presentation episode, episode zero, with Luis from StarkNet, and we had a general overview about the StarkNet environment and the promotional marketing activities that are taking place in it. And today I'm having the guys from zkLend, Brian and Hema. Hey guys, how is it going?
Very good. How are you, Nurstar?
I'm great, thanks. I'm very glad to have you here.
No,
How are
thank
you,
you for
Hema?
having us. And we're yeah,
Uh,
I'm good. I'm good. Yeah. Thank you for
nice,
having us
nice.
today. We're really excited.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. In fact, I really wanted zkLand to be the first project guest, let's say, because I'm really impressed by the community that you have built during these months, and I'm also very impressed by the educational contents that you have been creating so far, and therefore, yeah, it's amazing to have you as the first guests. And well, if you agree, we can start with some questions. And I would like to. Well, actually, I could also add for those who don't know zkLand yet, but I think most of the listeners do. zkLand is a lending protocol that is building DeFi products, both for DeFi users and the institutions. Then, obviously, Emma and Brian will have some more specifications about their projects. But I would like to start with Brian, and I would like Brian to tell me a bit about your feelings during this year building on StarkNet. Did you have fun? What is your general overview on the ecosystem and on the tech that powers it?
Sure. Thank you, Dick and Nurstar. Quick intro, I'm Brian, one of the co-founders, co-project lead of zkLend. And as Nurstar mentioned, we are building a money lending protocol on StarkNet. Very glad to building in the space. I'm very glad to join this AMA and be a episode 1 guest after Louis. And um, very appreciate the kind words from Nurstar on the introduction. I think for us, from my experience, starting to engage and learn about the whole ecosystem, the technology. I think I would start with the technology side. I would have 3 words to describe it. One, it's fantastic. It's really advanced, and the last word, it's overwhelming. I think everyone would appreciate that zero knowledge proof. It's um, easy to understand on a high level concept. But when you get down to the nitty gritty and the actual programming to enable the proving, the badging, and also the validations behind it, it gets really complicated really easy, really quickly. And so for a initial a contact to come into the crypto space and building on StarkNet, building on a layer 2 ZK rollup. To understand the logic behind it, it's actually a very steep learning curve, but a very rewarding one as well. And what I can say is that from when we begin building this project in the beginning of this year till now, it's only been about 9 months, and the space and the technology has evolved so rapidly already, and we're already at StarkNet version 10, version 0.10, and I'm sure there will be a lot more enhancement and streamlining coming forward in the next couple of months, and we're all sticking a neck out and waiting for it to happen. As for the community, I think the initial sense I get from the community, it's very different from a lot of the other ecosystem or the blockchain that they're building. Presumably because I think at the beginning of 2022, NFTs are a really big thing, and then a lot of projects are peer shilled, and then a lot of are building on hype. But when I encounter a lot of the teams that are building on StarkNet, as well as the Startware team themselves. The initial sense is really technical, and everyone that's building is very passionate about the technology itself. And so when you have the builder of the network itself that are very capable, very technical, and the technology is really amazing, you tend to attract a very special group of talented developers and hackers. And it's quite interesting because on the first couple of calls when I have with other developers or other protocols building, um, they don't really tell stories about, for example, oh, how this is going to get commercialized, how the business model is going to run. It's all about the idea, the really cool thing that they really want to build, and that's pretty much it. And it's about the idea that this great novel in innovation, it's only being able to build on StarkNet because of the technology, because of the cost, speed, or other external factors, and being able to unlock this potential and building on StarkNet, it's already very exciting to them. And with the idea, then they start to have a more attention to marketing, attention to community, and later on about how the business model is going to evolve later on. So in a sense, it's kind of slightly reversed from the traditional sense where you have a business model or an idea all tangled up together. But I think that's the beauty of it, where a lot of really talented and very passionate people coming together and really want to build in this space, because essentially StarkNet on day one, there's actually not a lot of tools, not a lot of infrastructure being built, and everyone coming on board is just rolling up their sleeves and building and just helping to push the ecosystem forward because they feel passionate and they feel this is the right place to be. I would stop here first. I think I've spoken quite a bit, and I'm not sure if you have any further questions, but I would like to pass the stage back to you and Emma.
Yeah, please, Emma.
Yeah, so yeah, I mean, I think just to kind of like build on like what Brian said about kind of like the community side of things. Actually, maybe what would be helpful is just like a quick introduction of kind of like what I do at zkLend. So I'm Emma. Hi, everyone. It's nice to meet you. So I'm the CMO of zkLend. So I do a lot of like the marketing and just kind of translating and onboarding a lot of people and getting people excited about why StarkNet and why zkLend is going to be the next native money market protocol. So I guess on the community side, what would be helpful is if we kind of just talked a little bit about, like some of the initiatives that we have done, and we've actually done, quite a range. And I think that really adds to like the enthusiasm and the range of community members that we see in our Discord. So, we've had like OG roles, the sticker competition, various competitions, zkLend Quest, Zen University, the StarkNet Hong Kong meetup, testnet moon landing feedback program, and the Mid-Autumn Festival campaign that we did recently. So all of that's like on our Discord, so join that if you haven't already. And then also we have our Zend and Friends, as well as a bunch of kind of like real life stuff that we're really pushing to kind of push out the zkLend name and brand. So we did Stark Friends in Amsterdam, Shooting Starks in Paris, and we co-sponsored a StarkCon with ZKX that ZKX organized, and as well as like various hackathons and stuff. And kind of like to build on Brian's point, like through all these events, we really see like how enthusiastic the community is about not just kind of, when token and just in it kind of just for, the short-term gains, but really for like the long-term excitement and passion. And, if you hang out in our Discord, you can really see how different people like different things. And it's really great that we have all these different initiatives. So yeah, I think that's kind of just generally what it's like to build on the marketing side of zkLend.
Thanks a lot, Emma. Yeah, I think we are all very happy about the fundamentals-driven vibe that is present in StarkNet. In fact, I'm also very happy to be part, of the community, of the whole community in StarkNet, and I was attracted by the StarkNet ecosystem for the fact that, yeah, people are very fundamental-driven, and there are a lot of very talented builders in the space, and also people like me who would like to focus more on the community building sides, on the marketing and promotional sides, are also eager to talk about the fundamentals and to create educational contents in order to educate the new users, potential users, in order to accompany them at the beginning of their crypto journey and of their StarkNet journey, in order also not to scare them too much from the dangers that are present in blockchain as well, as we all know. And so I'm very proud to be part of this team together with you. And now I would like to go back to Emma. And as she previously said, zkLend had created a lot of initiatives, and I was very surprised by the amount of good initiatives and contents that has been created by your team. In fact, I made a short list of the activities that you actually already mentioned. But yeah, I would like to say again about the Only Dust contribution program that you are doing in order to attract developers, right, to help you out with some tasks in zkLand. Then yeah, I really like your Zend and Friends format where you interviewed a lot of people from different also scaling solutions and from other L1s as well, as far as I remember. So it was very nice to have this kind of exchange, educational exchange with other people who are busy building in other environments, in other ecosystems. And then I also saw that you're very good at creating these initiatives powered by the POAP, proof of attendance. That's very good. And also, yeah, the content in Zend University is pretty enlightening, pretty nice. And I would like to ask you, what are these initiatives about? I mean, what are the reasons and the goals why you are supporting these educational formats, and whether you are having challenges in producing them. I mean, or you're having great fun with it. Tell me your experience with these these marketing strategies.
Yeah, yeah. So I guess I'll take your question in two parts then. I think the
Yeah.
first part is kind of like why these initiatives, and the second part will kind of be like our experience and any challenges that we have kind of creating them. So for the first part, I think like community education and awareness has always been quite important, because I think the best users are going to be informed users, and especially with DeFi, you really want to onboard people who know what they're doing, but at the same time, for it to be meaningful, they are kind of like non custody. Self custody is a big responsibility, and you kind of just want like informed users. So, for example, the Zend University,
Hey,
the main
brothers and sisters
Oh, the
from the
first day
StarkNet
that we
to
signed.
family.
get people to
This
understand
is
like the
Nurstar
anatomy of
speaking
borrowing
from
and
Stark
the risks
Galaxy,
when using
and
DeFi, and
welcome to
kind
the
of like
first
introduce
episode
to
of the Deep
DeFi in
Dive
very
series.
broad brushstrokes to kind of give everyone like a base understanding what are the key topics and key ideas and themes that not just that they as users might be interested in thinking about, but also to kind of like translate the thought processes and concepts that we have when we started to build out zkLend as a money market protocol. So again, like the purpose isn't really to go that deep technically. We're not like developers or coders. We're not going to like the deep technical documents, but really it's just kind of allowing people to be competent users of protocol, because those are the people that we want to help serve, especially for our Artemis product. And then this kind of translates into our Medium posts as well, with Brian and Jane when they write their things. For example, things that are picking their brain, for example, reflections on recursion, thoughts on East Amsterdam, why we're building on StarkNet, and how testnet. And these are kind of things that we think that don't already exist, but are key pieces of information that the community needs. For example, like our how testnet piece did quite well, and we really thought that, hey, there isn't something that already exists like this right now being provided for, say, like a average user explain like in 5 kind of like tone. So that's kind of like the first reason, like the community education. The second is really the process of learning itself. So the process of learning and active thinking is kind of just making sure that community feels like they are engaged and really feeling like they have a stake in the protocol, and they every single piece of feedback is going to be like read. And, we hang out in Discord a lot. So just keep leaving your comments. We read them all. And this is, regardless of whether you're from day 0 or day 100, the idea is that, through participating, whether it's through, listening to our AMAs or taking part in Zen University, or even just sometimes like peeping at our Medium posts, the idea behind that is just to really get everyone invested and feel like, this is a space for them. And kind of that's the whole ethos of DeFi as well. And the last point, I think, for why we do so many of these initiatives varying in different formats and forms, is actually because like we're just experimenting with different kinds of media formats, figuring out what works, because what works for some person might not work for another person. So you might be a reader, or you might be a visual learner, or you might be creative. And the idea is just to kind of involve as many people as possible and just create the kind of like inclusive space where everyone is informed. So, some people say that they actually listen to the podcasts, the longer form ones. Other people really like Zen University. And then other people really like sort of like our real life event, when we do the Hong Kong meetup, or even just like co-sponsoring events. That's also really fun. And, just getting to meet people and try new things. That's kind of why we're, doing all this different type of content and different formats. So that's
Yeah,
kind of like the general format part. And then in terms of the second part of your question, which was more about the like the challenges, it's actually a lot of it. I think one of the biggest challenges in kind of building and designing these kind of initiatives is more so like, I think a lot of it is quite manual. So, when we do the like rewards for Zen University, or just kind of like doing the forms, or like creating feedback forms, a lot of it is just, how do we make sure that like a few bad actors don't ruin it for everyone? So, what are the anti-bot measures? How do we make sure that, people don't give in like duplicates, or someone might say they accidentally sent the wrong wallet address, so we need to amend that. I think that's like one of the biggest challenges. I think just the administrative side, but I'm really lucky because, we have a really great team. So it's actually been okay. And then I think it's just managing kind of like community expectations, because everyone's online all the time, and it's just being able to, react quickly and respond to the community. If community says, hey, I don't like this, or I noticed XYZ, it's always just being able to like have people in place to like kind of firefight and write those problems down and track them, and then, find a way to make sure that it doesn't happen again in future. So I think those two are the main kind of challenges, but they're all really, really fun. And I really enjoy just kind of figuring things out with the community at the same time. So yeah.
yeah, very nice. Thanks a lot. Congrats on your community approach. That I really like it. So
Thank
very,
you.
very nice. Right now, I would like to switch a bit towards the product, the suite of products side, and I would like to ask Brian to like pitch me in an informal, like fun way, zkLend as a product, as a suite of products. And I simply would like to know why a DeFi user or an institution should consider using or dealing with zkLend over the competition.
Sure, sure. Thanks, Nurstar, for the questions. Great questions, by the way. I would say lending and borrowing protocol are fundamentally very basic and easy to understand DeFi Lego that comes in different shapes and forms. And what I mean by that is everyone basically do the same function, but they do have a little bit of twist in it in terms of whether they do a little more aggressively, they do it with a bit of yield enhancement, they do it with more risk management system. But ultimately, they are all ultimately trying to bring liquidity and the matching of liquidity and also the duration of it. So I think for us, when we build a money lending protocol on StarkNet, definitely leveraging on StarkNet's ability to scale transactions, making it much cheaper and much faster. But I think there are two things that we see as a kind of a bottleneck for a lending protocol to become mainstream in the crypto space, in the Web3 space, and one of which is capital efficiency, unlocking maximizing capital efficiency, and the second one is mass market adoptions. And I would say for zkLend, what is unique about us is because we are building a protocol with two product approach at the very beginning, and that would include a DeFi users which they can interact with in a permissionless way through Artemis, and then there's another permission approach which is called Apollo, and then that's catered for institutions where they would interact with it through a KYC, background check, and AML checked manner. The beauty of combining these two is because one, currently for a lot of lending protocols, um, over collateralization is being used quite extensively, and it is necessary because you cannot have you don't have the identity of someone, you can't provide guarantee or provide any type of securities against your borrowing. So that's why you have to have some other form of collaterals to pledge against it, and you have to pledge more than you borrow in order to have room for liquidations, room for market shocks, and things like that. But effectively, it's not very efficient in terms of how you use your capital. So, in order to unlock that, we feel that going towards a semi or partially collateralized or uncollateralized approach, it's going to be needed down the road. The current infrastructure is not there, but we start to see, for example, some NFTs or soulbound NFT or things like that, which might have the potential to provide some form of personal backing or guarantee or some form of reputations behind what you do with your wallet address. But more to that, it's if we started to incorporate institutions into the equation, I think that's where it kind of makes sense automatically, because institutions, when they get onto the DeFi space, a lot of them actually do need to go through the compliance check and the KYC, and for them, being able to be docs and having all that provided, it's quite a normal business operations for them. And with that reputations or some form of legal recourse on the line, we start to be able to provide under collateralized lending and uncollateralized lending. And what institutions are able to get from the crypto space, it's abundance of liquidity, one, freedom of pricing at their own will rather than having a bank price them, and also the tenor as to how much they take out, how long they take it out, and the freedom of not having to go through the bank, provide a notice, a 2 days notice prior to drawdown or things like that. It's instantaneous. They have the control of their wallet, and they can do it any time of the day without and skipping a beat. So institutions see the advantage of borrowing from the crypto space, and that's why you would start to see a lot of protocols when they tap into the institutional space. They're able to provide much higher interest rate, much higher deposit or much higher deposit rate, which translates to when I'm sorry, I correct myself. The institutions are able to provide a much higher financing or borrowing rate, which translates to higher deposit rate for the retail users once we are able to incorporate these two together. And I think what we have seen in 2022, it's yield farming or artificial yield. It's not sustainable, and people are starting to get away from it. And just by using, for example, their own protocol native token to juice up the yield, it's not something that long-term user would appreciate. So we start to see and we start to notice that a lot of even retail users or institutional users, they are really looking into real yield, true yield. And in order to provide that, we would have to bridge the two and being able to leverage on the institutional part to be able to juice it up. And I think with that, this is where we stand. And I wouldn't say it's an innovations or a technological advantages that only us have, but I think what we set on and what we're building and the relationship we're building across the space enable us to have a faster footing and a faster reaction time to be able to march into this space as it goes on, and especially with the regulatory framework being kind of shaken at the moment, and we start to see more regulations, but on the flip side, meaning more institutions are willing to come in and try it out. So I think that would be kind of the tone I would set it as. What is our unique positioning in the space? And but having said, I think ultimately all lending and borrowing protocol, they are helping to bridge liquidity and increase liquidity in the whole ecosystem. And I think we're still very, very early in the stage of the whole Web3 and DeFi evolution. And I think everyone is just trying to grow the pie. And so when we say competitions or people that are splitting the fraction of the capital, I think we're looking at too tunnel vision or narrow mindsets. I think the aim is really to try to solve these bottlenecks together, and then trying to enlarge the pie so that we will all become kind of the OGs of the DeFi and OGs of the lending and borrowing protocol space.
Nice. Thank you, Brian, for such an enlightening and comprehensive answer. I would like to know from Emma for the last question. Then we'll figure out whether we have some time for some questions by the public, by the listeners. But right now, I would like to know from Emma, without too much spoiling, of course, what kind of initiatives are you thinking? Do you have in mind for the future, especially right now that especially in the Q1 2023? As far as I remember, you also announced the fact that you're gonna ship the zkLend mainnets as soon as the restate of the reset of the StarkNet scaling solution will happen in order not to launch it on the StarkNet Alpha mainnet like right now, and then you would have to launch it again and to transfer all the value from the Alpha mainnet to the reset mainnet. Therefore, I would like to get confirmation about this. And regarding this, I would like to know what is your kind of approach? How will you approach this kind of new phase in your development? And then maybe Brian could add something up as well.
Yeah, so yeah, I mean, you're completely right about the regenesis. Like, we decided that we are going to adapt to that and work around it. So, if you guys haven't already, you can check out our Medium. We did write a piece on it. It's just kind of like updating about, what our new cadence and roadmap might look like. In terms of the initiatives, we've got loads of cool stuff planned. Maybe, I could quickly just talk about um, the current initiatives that are kind of coming to a close right now, and then maybe where we kind of see ourselves in the next like three months or so, coming up to regenesis. So in terms of the current initiatives that we have going, Zend and Friends AMA will be closing, sadly. So we had a lot of fun doing that. We actually got to speak to many, many cool and interesting guests. So that will be closing. So right now we just finished our Educator series, and we have one more final series, and the theme will be revealed very soon. But I think it's like probably the biggest theme, and like that will be our like series finale. So we're really excited to get that out. So stay tuned for that. And then the second would kind of be our community calls. So recently we started monthly community calls to keep everyone updated on what we're doing, kind of what we're thinking, any updates on the product, any updates in terms of the market, and how we kind of shape and see it develop. So we're switching up the format for that to hopefully, make it a bit more engaging and get more people involved. And then that's kind of the initiatives that we have going on now. So I guess the cadence will kind of be slowing down a little bit, but kind of moving forward closer to Q4 and early Q1, we kind of expect a little bit more localization in specific groups. So right now we have a great English speaking community on our Discord. I think we have about like 22,000 of you guys. And we kind of want to like bring the StarkNet vision and share it with other communities. So we're starting to see it kind of slowly begin now. So we recently had our Japanese AMA with Kudasai, which was really, really good. And we're just overwhelmed with the amount of passion and the interest that the Japanese community had for StarkNet. And, even on our Twitter, we're checking our DMs. People are asking, hey, can I get a whitelist spot? So that's really awesome. And then we are also looking at, Vietnam. I know that there's a StarkNet Vietnam presence. And then we also did a AMA with our Chinese community. So there's other communities that we have kind of in the pipeline that we want to expand to, and maybe just get more involved in those areas. And then the last thing is potentially more collaborations with other StarkNet native protocols. So we're not going to say who or what yet, but that's definitely in the pipeline. And I think these kind of collaborations can kind of be thought as not just DeFi, but also maybe like NFT and games, just generally because of the amount of games and NFT space in StarkNet is particularly strong. And, I think games and NFTs are a really great way to onboard the community because loads of people love games. Games are quite intuitive, they're fun, and it gets people easier, just in the same way that NFTs brought a lot of people into crypto and DeFi. I really think that's the same way with like games as well and NFTs and StarkNet. So we're hopefully looking to bring collaboration with one of or many more StarkNet native protocols, but that's all for the future. And I think that's generally it, really. So those are kind of the initiatives we see in the future. Do keep your eyes out, and we will always update you guys on Twitter and stuff. So yeah,
Amazing. Yeah, thank you, Emma. I really look forward to the formats that you'll come up with in the next months. Really excited about that. Brian, would you like to add something, or maybe we can ask the listeners if they have some question, and maybe you can answer to it.
Yeah, I think Emma just sums it up brilliantly. So why don't I save some time for the audience to ask question, and I'm happy to take any questions and elaborate on that as we go.
Or okay, I think there are no questions. Therefore, I would like to thank Emma Brian for joining me today, and obviously, I would like to thank all the listeners who take some of your precious time to be with us today. So I'm really excited to see zkLend's developments in the next months, and I'm sure we'll have other occasions to talk with together. Uh, Having said that, thanks a lot, Brian. Thanks a lot, Emma, and thanks a lot to all the listeners.